Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to figure out how to find a reliable subcontractor. I know a lot of people struggle with this in the drop servicing space. Even if you have a regular home service business, this is a main problem with a lot of people in this industry. But I kind of cracked the code, and there's 3 reliable methods on finding these contractors. I like to call them prime contractors. These people are not retards. They have good pricing and they have good communication as well as showing. And here's the 3 main methods. So the first method is Facebook. What I like to do is I go on to groups. So if I'm looking for Utah plumbers, there's a group for Utah plumbers. And I would make a post. It usually takes a little bit to get accepted. They have some qualifying questions when you're getting accepted, like what's your ROC. You can just bullshit that. They don't really check. You're going to make a post. You're going to look for a partnership. You're going to have good communication. And you're going to explain your revenue share. When you explain your revenue share about like the 60-40 or whatnot, if you're doing plumbing, 60-40 is usually where you're going to be. 40 you, 60 them. It's going to filter out all the people that want a higher split. So you're not going to have to do as many calls. And another important part is they are fully liable. If you're doing a big project and you don't have that, you never explained that they're liable, the blame is on you and you did nothing wrong. If you're doing the drop servicing model, your contractors should be fully liable. And I get a ton of people hitting me up. Once the post goes live, you should get about 10 to 20 people either messaging you or in the description of the post wanting to work with you. So it's a really effective way and one of my favorites. The second method is cold calling GMBs. So if we're doing Utah plumbing once again, you wouldn't call these people. You'd call the GMBs with low reviews. These are usually mom and pop shops. They don't have a ton of clients and that makes them available for work. These bigger companies, for example, like this Beehive Plumbing with, 2,000 reviews, they probably have more than enough clients and can't even fit your work in. Never mind you get into the owner because there's probably going to be a receptionist. You can use a data scraper like Apollo or something similar to make this easier. This method works if you're in the and Indeed aren't working, but it's probably the worst method out of all 3 of these. So steer clear unless Indeed or Facebook don't work. But it's still reliable. Like you're gonna find people, but you have to put in more effort. And the last method is Indeed. This usually has the most qualified people, in my experience, for whatever contracting niche you're doing. Don't use the premium. I spelled it wrong. Don't use premium. It's a waste of money in my opinion. And you're going to make a similar post as Facebook on Indeed. Just explains the partnership. There's revenue share. They're fully liable. Those are the big. Once you do the onboarding call with them, on that call, you're just going to go over your terms, make sure they speak English and aren't retarded. And once you see that they're a good fit, you'd want to try them out. You're going to make a contract. So you can prompt back and forth with Claude. You can kind of explain your terms, tell that to Claude, and Claude will come up with a PDF. You can just email that to your contractor. Once he gets that signed, you can start working with him and hopefully, form a long-term relationship with him. That'll be all for this video. If you're struggling with drop servicing or want to learn, I do have my drop servicing university, which has a lot of methods on how to find contractors, how to start your drop servicing business, and how to scale to 50K a month. So if you're interested in that, you can book a one-on-one call with me. Link is going to be in the description.